I'm Condoleezza Simeon. I'm an urban studies and theater major, and I'm a sophomore here at Dillard University. When I first arrived to the Whitney Plantation, first off, this is not my first time being at the Whitney. This will be my third time at the Whitney Plantation. But what I've come to understand is that at the Whitney Plantation, there's just so much information surrounding slavery, the treatment of the enslaved, and with the Whitney Plantation being the only plantation that shares that history, I've decided to keep coming back because I want to learn more, especially about like Louisiana and sugar and all the crops that were actually on plantations.
Hello, my name is Ashley. I'm not sure what to expect. I think very often a lot of history has been sugar coated, so I'm hoping that it's not sugar coated history. I feel like I don't know enough, if that makes sense.
Hi, my name is Viaja Johnson. I'm a criminal justice major, English minor, and I'm a junior here at Dillard University. My first thoughts coming to the plantation, although this isn't my first time, it's going to be my first time in a long time. So honestly, I'm really open-minded to all the information and new information that I'm going to learn while being here, whether it's about the person that I was assigned to, Carol Stewart, I think. But it's just going to be interesting. It's just going to be an interesting field trip just to learn new and historic information about our history.
It's just weird knowing a plantation has been so close to me this whole time. Yeah, I didn't know.
Have you ever seen anything like it?
No, this is my first time seeing a plantation, period.
What I first thought was that it was more intense than just reading about it or hearing about it. To actually walk the plantation and see the land and the houses and to kind of feel what slaves had to endure was just pretty intense. It's really hard.
So what was your experience and what did you learn from the plantation tours today?
So I learned that the slaves were the one who built the plantations, and for the second plantation, I learned that the cypress trees don't mow, and the reason why they know how to construct with cypress trees is because Congo have kind of a similar weather to Louisiana, and it also helped with the flooding in the bayou situation.
Thank you.
So for me, one thing that really stuck with me was at the Whitney Plantation, they had a list of like all the slave codes and whatnot, and it struck me how disrespectful they were. Like, it compared like slaves to like the fruit on the tree, and like they're there to be used. And the other ones was mentioning how women who are kidnapped into slavery, their slave pens were compared to brothels.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
I mean, the house doesn't really have any. Most things are going to be like original.
That's a fridge. That's why they kept their food cold.
After seeing the tour, after going through the tour again, I really like the fact that our tour guide emphasized not only the enslaved role, but the free people of color's role in getting rid of slavery and a lot of the moving components of slavery, such as the big house being made by a free person of color because they understood how to build the house in order for it to be livable, as well as little forms of resistance that the enslaved would do. I think I learned by thinking of the things that we were not taught in school. Like visiting the slave cabins, he said, imagine how hot it would be in the summer, which is easy to think of, especially being a Louisiana native, but also considering how cold it would be in the winter, specifically at night. That's something that I didn't think about. When he talked about Anna, who was one of the young girls who were enslaved here on the plantation, he talked about how one of the people in the big house, one of the families of the Haydels, which is the owners, had a thing for little girls. And I was like, I wouldn't have thought, of course you would think of it, but you don't contextualize it when it comes to enslaved people, that, hey, there's these types of people who still exist during this time, who still do things to harm children, or black children specifically, especially with 10 years old being, at that point, you're good without your mother, you're basically an adult, as well as seeing how many things that we were taught today is still happening today. So I feel empowered. I don't feel slighted at all to have learned any of this, but I definitely feel empowered to do more and to recognize that I've come from people who overcame such adversaries that nobody in the nation has had to overcome, and we have the power to still do the same thing and remember.
Hey, my name is Ashley Rinaga, urban studies and public policy major. Honestly, overwhelmed, I think.
I don't know, I kind of was watching like my other students, so I'm an RA, so like I know a lot of students personally, and like I could tell like it is overwhelming, so I can only imagine like what they felt. Yeah, it's
What's something interesting that you learned?
I think mainly like when he spoke about the names, like that was something that I was wondering, like why is it so like names are changing, like you know, like even as an outsider I was like, huh, like why do you spell your name differently? So for him to be like, well, that's like something that ended up coming back or like happening because of slavery, I never really thought about that. So yeah, it was like, or the diabetes, like how he spoke of like now black people are not suffering from diabetes, heart disease. Like of course usually whenever as an urban studies it's like it's based on the way that like where they live, like black neighborhoods probably don't have access to like resources, but like for him to also remind us like, yeah, it actually originated all the way back here. It's kind of like, okay, so how much is it from now? So yeah.
Thank you. So how do you feel now that you finished the tour at the Whitney Plantation?
At first I was unsettled, but now I feel very calm knowing more of the history of African American slavery, because in high school we were just known as slave with no details, so I'm glad that I can get a bit of details out of it.
What did you learn?
So what I learned is basically the punishment of slavery, the routes that they had to take, where they live. That one was emotional, where they lived at.